One of the things I've noticed while I've been doing a couple of these short demos for you guys today is that I've had a couple of alerts that I probably should pay attention to. Um, One of them being the appliance, as you can see right here under the major category, the appliance A1 is projected to run out of space in 8 days. How did I first come to realize that? Well, obviously it's right here in the dashboard. Uh, from the overview perspective, I can see that I have a major alert, right? I certainly can look over here in my alerts tab or alerts area and look at any one of the given categories. Obviously, if I select this, it's going to give me a little bit of more information about the alert, and I certainly have the ability to acknowledge it if I want and clear it out. But the first place where I actually noticed it was actually here in the hardware tab, where I certainly have the alert right here, and if I mouse over it, it'll tell me how many I have, and I certainly can select this and go back to the alerts tab of the hardware device itself and see it here. I also can see it from my alerts quick view, right, where again I show the same kind of categories that I've seen in several different areas of the GUI. So moral of the story here, guys, is hey, just like there's a lot of different ways to navigate around the GUI, just like there's a lot of different ways to go from one area to another. The whole wizard that'll walk you through the GUI in terms of whatever operation you're trying to do. Alerts certainly predominant, certainly not buried 3 or 4 levels down. They're shown in a lot of places, pretty predominant, pretty prevalent, and something like that you're definitely going to want to know. So with that said, just to set in some of the context here, obviously I'm going to run out of space in 8 days. How does it know that? Well, again, PowerStore Platform, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, the brains of the operation, the brains of the system, will show you and calculate that based on historical usage that we've already seen. If I keep writing to this thing like I've been writing to it, even though it shows that, hey, I've got a lot of space, free here, roughly 85 terabytes out of 100, I'm going to run out of space. So I'm obviously writing a lot to this, and in 8 days at the current course of trajectory, I'm going to run out of space. So again, I'm going to show you guys how to migrate a volume from one appliance to another, which is another strong inherent capability of the PowerStore platform to do that federated scale out, to balance those resources, to move workloads around non-disruptively, to keep the cluster, capacity in this instance, from running out on this specific appliance. But with that said, I've only got 2 appliances in a cluster, which again, if I go back to my hardware tab, you see that here. Well, how open is the other appliance? Can I do it? Well, I'm going to verify it manually, even though the intelligence under the covers will do that for me. But I certainly can, again, go back and look at the capacity of my appliance 2 here in the cluster and see that, relatively speaking, I've got a lot of room. A lot of room. From a percentage perspective, it's only a handful of terabytes compared to appliance 1 in the cluster. I still have a lot of room to move something here. So how do you do that? Well, I'm not exactly sure what is causing the log jam, the bottleneck, right? Is it a volume? Is it a volume group? Is it a container? Is it a file system? We're just going to start, and let's assume it's a volume. Obviously, I could do the same kind of operation for every storage item here, for the containers, for the file systems, but I'm just going to start by looking at the volumes. We've seen this before, been at this area of the GUI in one of my previous demos, right? Here's all here's all my volumes, my list of volumes. Here's all the appliances that they belong to. And again, the whole purpose of federated scale out is, an appliance in the cluster owns a resource, in this case, a volume. And I can see that I have a lot of volumes on appliance 1 and very few on appliance 2. Well, let's go see which ones might be good candidates to move off of appliance 1 to make some room and hopefully clear that error or warning. So I'm going to use the filter capability, which I kind of showed you guys earlier. And I just want to look at everything that's on appliance 1. So now that 1 or 2 volumes that you saw on appliance 2, they're not here anymore. They've been filtered out, just like you would do in Excel. Now I have a bunch of volumes, and they're all sized differently, and they're labeled or showing up basically alphabetically speaking. Well, I want to look at them from a largest to smallest view, so I can see which ones are the worst offenders, if you will, with respect to the amount of capacity that they're eating up on appliance one. And I certainly can see right here that I've got several. I've got this SBX, Sandbox volumes. I got this MongoDB and the SQLDB. If I wanted to go and take a look, yep, I've got some two volumes in that Sandbox. Those two Sandbox volumes are part of a volume group, and these two aren't, the MongoDB and the SQLDB. If I want to migrate, a volume out of a volume group off, I certainly can do that, but ideally you probably want to keep them together. So you know what? I'm just going to move off the MongoDB. And again, could have been the SQL, could have been the Mongo, could have been anything, right? But just for this instance, I'll take the MongoDB off. It's the larger of the two by, roughly 500 gig, 400 gig. So let's move that one off. So we'll select it, and we'll come up to more actions. And again, you guys have seen this before too. One of the actions, migrate. And I want to migrate it to the only other appliance in the cluster, which is appliance 2. And you simply select that. It's giving you a little bit of, performance info here currently, just to, show you, what's going on with that other cluster in the network, or the other appliance in the network in the cluster, just to give you a clue and an indication of, hey, you know what, if this is a very busy box right now, a very busy appliance, maybe I don't want to do this right now. I might want to do it a little later, off hours, whatever the case may be. But you know what? I'm really not doing a whole lot here. Latency's good. IOPS are pretty light. So let's go for it. Simply select that appliance in the cluster. And I only have one other one at this point. And we'll start the migration. Come back. Basically, I got to do a rescan when we're all set. Yep. We'll confirm that now instead of later. Depending upon the amount of data, right? It could take several minutes, days, hours, again, depending upon the network, depending upon how busy each appliance is, the source and the destination. And we'll just start the migration now. And we'll immediately go back to the migration tab and show you the migration actions that are currently in the works. And you'll notice I've got a couple. And again, this is a simulator, so this is dummied up data, right? Ideally, these two wouldn't be here, but they are in the simulator. But you see that I've got my MongoDB right here. And that's a current migration that's going on. It'll tell you what the throughput, how much I'm moving off, what the progress percentage is. And again, this should refresh, in the real world automatically, but you certainly can refresh, anytime you want. And again, given it's a simulator, not much is going to change here, but you get the idea of how simple it is to do some manual migration, some manual load balancing based on capacity. And oh, by the way, based on an alert that you noticed was in several different areas and something that's pretty major that you definitely want to take care of within the next 8 days. And the sooner the better. So that's pretty much the end of this demo, but thought it was important to kind of call an audible and go off on that tangent for this demo and show you, how easy it is and how you go about doing it. Don't go far. We got a few more coming.